Again. Ahí está. Hi, Dan. Hi, Dan. I can hear you. Can you hear me? You can use the chat box so you can let me know. I'm recording already so we can share this meeting through Facebook after I can find it. Hello, hello. You're gonna need to connect your microphone through the machine. You need to give him permissions.
There we go.
Here we go. It's I don't know what happened there. I just can't find a way. It says there is a way to invite people to the live, but I couldn't do it. So I'm gonna keep trying.
Sounds good.
It's part of the process, you know, always a student, sometimes teacher. Sometimes hammer, sometimes a nail. And I didn't ask this before, but I want to ask now. Is this your first interview?
Yes, this is my first interview.
Great.
Although when you first came, I think within the first year or a few months, I think your wife, Laura, took us aside during one of the classes and asked us some questions. I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was videotaped or not.
I was shy to show that interviews. On those days, it was like, I don't want to be cocky or too much overwhelming people with what I'm doing here in California. And I have all that information, and I think it should be a really good material to show now, because from those days to now, I think it's very different what we were doing there and what we're doing now. And first, I want to say thank you for the opportunity and the honor to have you here in the first streaming for these yuyisapiens things already happening in my head. And please,
my honor.
Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us about your martial arts experience and training.
Sure, absolutely. My name's Dan Geller, and I live in Marin County, California, United States. I'm 54 years old, and I've been training in jiu-jitsu for a little over 7 years now, for the last 7 years consistently. Before that, I started training in Hapkido. Actually, I started with Taekwondo and Judo, and by taking classes at UC Berkeley when I was in college. And I, just loved doing martial arts and being active. And then I joined the Hapkido team, which is a Korean martial art. It's kind of a combination of everything. It was kind of like early MMA, and we kind of laugh and say, all the other martial arts at that time were specialties. Like Taekwondo was kicking and some punching, and Judo was throwing, and so they did those things very well. And so we kind of made fun of ourselves in a joking manner. Say we do everything, but not so well, because there's so many different things to know. So then after that, I did point sparring, point karate, and I was successful in a few tournaments, amateur tournaments. And then I took a long break while I was raising my children. raising a family, and then came back to it in I think around 2012, and I started doing MMA, and I did that for a couple of years, and then decided to try jujitsu back in 2014, just for a couple of reasons. I thought since most fights go to the ground, I wanted to have more skill while you're on the ground. Like I wanted to know what to do when you're on the ground. And also, as I was getting older, by that time, I'd always kind of relied on my speed. But when I was going with other people, they were ending up being faster than me. So jiu-jitsu is a way of kind of slowing things down with the gi. I could actually hold people and move. And also, as I was getting older, I wanted to get a workout in, but not have the risk of injury. Because even when you're sparring with somebody skilled, you're both skilled, there's going to be impact, and a bruise here and there is fine. But when you get older, if you have a major injury, it takes a lot longer to heal. So I wanted a healthy way, a healthier, safer way to work out, get a good workout, and also make me a more rounded martial artist.
Great, great. It looks like you know what you're doing. And
I try.
Something we didn't know is gonna happen is the pandemics that really get everyone with the guard low,
Yeah.
with the hands down, and was really shocking event, a world
Right.
event, a world crisis. How did it affect the pandemics your training or your routine? Want to share us about it?
Well, yeah, when the pandemic hit, it basically shut down all gyms and all jiu-jitsu classes, because jiu-jitsu, the way we were learning jiu-jitsu and training jiu-jitsu was rolling with each other, which involves being at a gym or basically working with somebody face to face. And so that just got stopped. So yeah, my jiu-jitsu training basically stopped as soon as the shutdown happened.
Yeah. How did you solve those issues?
Well, the gym that I was working out with started offering online workouts as a way to at least stay in shape. But those were mostly kicking and boxing drills, some mobility exercises, and some jiu-jitsu drills. But it wasn't quite the same, of course. And then, so that was in like March of 2020. And then, so after a couple months of doing that, you reached out to me in July and said, would you like to train with me in the park? But we'd each be on our own separate tarp, at least 6 feet away, and wearing masks. And I said, well, that's got to be better than what I'm doing now. At least it's jiu-jitsu. And then I had the opportunity to train with a second-degree black belt. I'm like, of course. And he said, you asked me to get a grappling dummy so that we could use the shape at least to work with. So I went online and found an unfilled dummy for like $20. And my idea was to fill it, to make it as heavy as possible, to make it as lifelike as possible. Because I want to have good base. I want it to have good base so that when I'm doing my movements, they're real. So I stuffed it with rags and old clothes. And I even made like little sandbags filled. I just took Ziploc bags, filled it with sand, and then wrapped it in duct tape so it wouldn't spill, and stuck it in there. And my dummy weighed about 50 pounds, like 22 kilos. And I was struggling with that thing. And you had yours, and yours was stuffed with like pillow stuffing. So it probably weighed like 10 pounds. And you'd show a movement and I'd look at you and you'd do the movement. And it took me like 5 minutes just to get it in the position. And it was such a struggle, but I kept working with it until it was crazy. And then I ripped everything out and restuffed it with the same stuff you're using. And yeah, I did that for a couple of months. I don't know why it took me so long to figure out that it didn't need to be that heavy. And now, of course, not of course, but we've added some more weight back in. But initially, 50 pounds is it's not needed. So yeah, the way we solved it was we were working out with grappling dummies, which I thought was a great solution. And then when it started raining, we just moved to your carport, so we were out of the rain, but we were still 6 feet apart. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, something that I do remember that I would like you to share with us is what, because in this country, when winter hits, lights goes out earlier. Sunlight goes like 5 o'clock is totally dark. Do you want to share those process with us? We were using lights and we were.
Yeah, so of course during the summer it's great because it's light out late, and I'm still working full time from home. So we'd have to meet after work. And during the summer, that's fine because it's light out. And then it started getting darker and darker and darker. And we were using like lights. There were some lights in the park, but it just started getting colder and colder. And then that's, I think, when it was about to start raining, like in October, that's when we moved to the carport. And so the carport had electricity, but I also got these like little lights. So at least we weren't getting rained on, and at least we weren't totally in the dark. But yeah, it was pretty cold at night. Yeah, so that was kind of rough. But we're in a gi, so at least we have. I guess it would have been rougher with no gi.
I do remember those things. Like I still have a lot of material there, and I'm still using the ladders and the weights and the rubber bands. And for me, the pandemic still on. For
But
me,
yeah, sure.
after closing the school and after moving away, it was a different process to me. That it didn't end yet. I'm still working on it. I'm still through that process, and this is a new way to do things. But it's not because I can't. It's because I want to change the narrative of the sport. To me, to see we saying like the same lame things or stories. I want to change that narrative, and this is an opportunity to say something with a different voice and in a different way, which for me is it's part of the martial arts study. And for me, in my experience, martial arts is education. No, it's not a sport, it's education. It's educational material. But that's me, and that's what I teach. No. After the lockdown, what do you value differently about your classes and your training?
Um, at first, I was just training just to get a good, safe workout. That was kind of my idea. While also getting better grappling skills. That was my idea when I first started jiu-jitsu, was getting a safe workout. In a group class environment, I could go to class and kind of passively learn. So when we started working out together, you would start each class, and you started the group classes the same way. You would say, "Are there any questions?" And in a group class, I could just kind of sit back and passively wait for somebody else to ask a question. Every once in a while, I might ask a question, but it wasn't just on me. So I could just kind of relax and chill. But when it was just you and me, and you said, "Are there any questions?" There was no one else to turn to. So, and you weren't asking it in a way that said, if you don't have questions, then you're not doing it right. It wasn't like a guilt thing, but it was like, that was the way to train, is I should come up with some questions. That's the best way to train. And what I realized was, in order to get questions, I had to actively come up with the question that made sense. And when I came up with a question, it was something that was specific to me, to my learning process. So it did a bunch of different things. In order to come up with questions, I would review hours of matches and other online training videos. And I would come to you and say, is this a valid technique, or how did they do that technique? Then we'd work through it and say, this would work for you, or this might not work for you as well in this situation. And so the process of looking at all these videos online and working out some of them with you, I took an active role in my learning. And I think that made me learn so much faster, instead of just passively kind of absorbing it through osmosis and just kind of doing the drills. But by asking questions, that kind of drives, and it makes for a much more interesting workout too, because you have a specific question that you're interested in at that moment that you want to work on. So I think that was probably the most valuable thing that was different from before lockdown or after lockdown. Also, I also value, so the workout also allowed us to maintain communications and contact throughout the pandemic, as well as getting a good workout, which all these things I think were very valuable in maintaining a healthy attitude, a healthy body. It just did so many things that were so valuable that I appreciate it, and I continue to appreciate it.
Do you have like a wow moment that you can remember through those days? Like, because I was doing this and with the dummy, I had to say, oh, of course. Like, you have like a
Just yeah, like all the time. Just like realizing, so the dummy is the shape. It gives you the shape. And so when I first thought about this question, I was thinking, it was the shape that helped me get better. And it was, because you can do muscle, you continue the movements, and that maintains muscle memory. But it was, and it also helped me realize, like, a lot of the movements are similar. It helped me recognize shapes, basically. I would say, oh, well, this is the same, it's kind of the same movement, but you're just reversed. But the thing I wanted to say was, when I first thought about this question, I thought it was the fact that I was just working with a dummy, with nobody on me giving me pressure. It was just me and the dummy wasn't putting pressure on me. It was just allowing me to do the movements. But it was really, I think, the active learning, just me taking control and responsibility for my education in jiu-jitsu. Or maybe it was a combination of both, but yeah, I think all of those things made a huge difference. And I don't know, I guess that's an aha moment, but just realizing that the dummy helped me so much, and then realizing, oh, it's not so much the dummy, it's the active learning.
Yeah, I do believe. And the process is the same. I think what I miss from the dome is the la riba. When the guys stand up, it's hard to show and to share techniques through that. So I came up with the chair, and I came up with the stairs, and I came up with a few more things, and I kind of fit a new different way to share all things, and it works for me. That exercise of creation, um, now it becomes like an avalanche.
Hmm.
More things are happening after that, and this is one of those things to me. I didn't want to start this process through pandemic. Look, everybody was there.
Right.
It was the only channel. So to me was unfair. Use a channel that everybody's using. Some people make money and some people keep keep their minds healthy as I was. And somehow I do believe you were an incredibly good student, very coachable, really understanding, really on it in that process, very aware of what you want and very aware of how get those information from you. To me, questions are that tool. It gives you shape. The information allowed you, but the questions fits the informations, like wearing a shoe in the right foot, right?
Right.
This thing in mind is like a 6 7 feet, and if you don't fit it in the right spot, it doesn't care if you can. We see how information became. You have a lot of information through your phone, so but you don't use it, right? So when something fits you very well, that's the moment for me when we can use that. That's why I think in that way. You've been on the mats for a while. Do you prefer martial arts to punching arts? You say yes, but I would like to hear more about it.
Yeah, I definitely prefer grappling. Some of the reasons I touched on before was, I wanted to get a good workout, and you can get a great workout, great kicking and punching workout. Let's call it stand up, um, or striking martial art. Um, but as I get older, and it's great younger too, but jujitsu just appeals to me more, um, specifically. Jiu-jitsu is a specific type of grappling, but I like jiu-jitsu more because, like I said, I can slow things down with the grips. Um, we start on our knees usually, so that reduces chances of collision or impacts, which cause injuries. And my whole goal is to train for as long as I can, as much as I can. And injuries are my enemy. I don't want to be injured, so that because I want to train as much as possible. I don't, even when I'm injured, I usually train, like in some aspect, because I just don't want to stop because I love it so much. I like the idea of grappling, or jujitsu in a, we'll say, to resolve a physical conflict. Let's say something gets physical in real life, rather than punching or kicking or knocking somebody out or injuring them. You can stop a conflict without injuring. You could just hold somebody and they can't do anything if you have them in the right hold. And you don't have to put them to sleep or break their arm. You can just hold them by using your weight, and grips and holds, so that they don't get injured, you don't get injured, no one else gets injured. I've never had to do that, but I can, and I like that feeling that I don't have to resort, to physical force of injuring somebody, knocking them out. I could get sued for that. California, lots of people like to sue people. You can go to jail for that. But by holding somebody down, there's not much they can do. So I think that's, like I said, I've never had to use that, but if I did, it's an option.
Yeah, I do believe I had um, the streets in Mexico are different, and it doesn't mean not here, but more often, and you don't end in a court in the same
Right.
way than here, right? So it's
Yeah.
easier to go physical. the consequences of go physical are not really part of the. We don't sue people, right? We different. It's different. But we go really physical sometimes, so it's very different, right?
Yeah.
It's very different. So no, I don't want to go too much on that. But yeah. And besides technique, which are the most valuable elements in your class?
Um,
I think I jumped one question. Let me go back again.
no.
Yeah, what is the most valuable aspect of your practice?
Yeah. I think learning to stay calm. I know that's could be considered a technique. Breathing, actually, controlling your breathing to be in control. Kind of like stopping. Like if I feel like I'm under pressure and I can't think of anything, and you're starting to panic, controlling your breathing kind of gives you control. And I didn't learn that anywhere else except jiu-jitsu. And doing that in class helps. And just staying calm, whether you're in control and dominating, just staying calm, not being frantic, or somebody's pressuring you and you have to escape, and not doing the correct movement, not necessarily the easiest movement. Because somebody's putting pressure and you stick your neck out because that's the easiest thing, and that's the thing that you think is the best thing, but it's not. So it's not doing the easiest thing, it's doing, I guess, the correct movement. And to do that is you need to stay calm and breathe and stay focused while under pressure. And also taking an active part of my learning, I think, was going back to that while in class. Yeah.
Very interesting. Breathing, teaching to breathe. It's part of the things that I share. That looks like easy. No, breathes change your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's very important. If you want to be assertive, sometimes you need to control. Do not deny the emotion, but control the emotion. Not control the emotion, being in control of what the consequence with the emotion comes. With the emotion, you cannot control your rage, but you can control the what you're gonna do with that rage.
Right.
That's what I check. Beside technique, which are the most valuable elements in your class?
Well, for me, as I get older, I like warming down and stretching, or warming up, making sure I'm warmed up in class. I like talking afterwards with people and troubleshooting. Sometimes another purple belt and I would, after class, if we rolled and we were got in a position that we were both kind of like, huh, you did this when I did that, why did you do that? And how did you do that? Or so those are really valuable, like specific questions, going back to questions again. The kind of the talking about afterwards is very valuable.
Thank you, Dan. Do you find philosophical practices in your class?
Yeah, actually, I guess this is considered a practice. Is I'd never seen this in other classes, but I think most classes in general, jiu-jitsu classes, you warm up, you have technique training drills, and then you roll, and then class is over and everybody leaves. And sometimes people stay afterwards and roll a little bit more, but you would end classes kind of, do the same kind of order, but you would have us sit down after rolling. We'd be all sweaty and tired, and you would talk, and sometimes you talk about, some of it. You'd ask questions. You'd ask, if you had a joke, something completely
Información, comentario.
Yeah. And I just remembered that. So it wasn't always, you weren't always talking about philosophy or ideas or techniques, but you were just talking, and it gave our brains a chance to kind of, we're still in the dojo, we're not working out, but it gives our brains a chance to catch up and kind of meditate on what we did. Sometimes I do that as I'm driving home, but you gave us a chance while we're right there to think about and meditate about anything, but usually it's the last thing that just happened. So it wasn't philosophical, sort of philosophical. I think that was a practice. So yeah, I appreciate that. And I thought that was really good. And other than that is just staying calm under pressure and breathing.
Yeah, say that is easy. Stay calm under pressure. That's called temple in Spanish.
It's always a work in progress, right?
It's forever. That's forever. It doesn't matter the day. You're always on that test, right? You're always on the test. What brings joy? What brings you joy in class?
I enjoy the challenge of learning and mastering new techniques, and then actually using them. And when I try something and it works, that's incredibly, that gives me a lot of joy. And rolling with another person who's skilled can be very joyful, even if they're a lot better than me. Watching them, just going through the flow and the movements, seeing how they escape and going, that was, you did that, I did this, you did that. And then, escaping from them, and then, passing their guard, or they sweep me, and I recover, and then I pass their guard, and just how the techniques kind of flow. Just doing, rolling with somebody who's really good, even if they're like way better than me. So it's not about winning the match or making them tap. It's all about how you get there, and it's not even about dominating somebody. I was on top the whole time. I had knee on belly. It's more about like, oh, they did that, and that was a really good movement. I want to take that technique and learn how they did that. Or I did something really well, I want to try that again. I want to use that over here. So that I think is the most enjoyable part, is learning the techniques and then using them and watching yourself get better and your game grow.
And what is the hardest part?
Oh, that's a hard question. Not rolling, or rolling lightly, appropriately when you're injured. Like I could be like 80%, like we can roll lightly, and then it just keeps ramping up, and then I feel a little tweak here or there. That is one of the hardest things, is rolling lightly for me. And then also doing the things that I think I need to do, but isn't, thought about how I would word this. I guess, for me personally, it's attacking more and taking risks, because I like being in a good position, and to attack, sometimes you have a chance of losing position. And so taking chances is, for me, is the hardest part about rolling, at least in training. For me anyway. I think sometimes learning techniques is tough, but I enjoy that. I enjoy that challenge.
Great. Had you teach class?
Have I taught a class? Yes, a couple times. So before that, I would help instruct like a lower rank in a technique when they were doing something, to help them work through that. And that's teaching, but it's very different from teaching a class. And I remember you asked me, you said, I want you to teach a class. Of course, you were the only person in the class. So that was a little stressful. I mean, I guess it shouldn't have been, because you were the only person, and so you knew everything. But the hardest part of that was coming up with a set of techniques that flow, that I felt confident about, and then, making sure everything, just keeping track of time as we were going through the techniques, and I was teaching, and the warm up and the warm down, and like keeping track of everything, like being responsible for the whole class from start to finish, and making sure each thing has its own amount of time, and that it all flows correctly. That to me that's amazing. And maybe I was putting too much thought into it, but it was difficult. And then another time I taught class, it was a little less formal, but it was a small group of people. We got together, and we get together every Sunday, and usually there's a black belt there that kind of takes over and controls, and teaches a class basically, but it's really kind of an open workout, and the black belt wasn't there, and I was the purple belt. I was the only purple belt. So everyone kind of looked at me like, what do you want to teach? I'm like, oh, well, okay. And there was another purple belt there who kind of helped me out. She ran warm up and everything, and that was great. But I basically just taught a class. I said, let's do this. And people ask questions, and it's different. So I would do the movement and train with somebody, and then I'm like, oh, I need to get up and walk around and make sure everybody's doing it right. And then answer questions, and then we need to go to the next movement. So it's difficult. It's much easier being a student, I think.
I know it's but it's part of it. To me, make people to see how the class is made, allow you to when to me it's the opposite. You teaching allows you to understand what do you need from a very different perspective, because now you see what everybody sees and what do you miss as a teacher, and says, oh, professor doesn't know that I have this view, so he can change that, right? So I can ask this, or I can go from this side, or I can. To me, when a student teach class, I had the chance to see their perspective. I don't, and that makes the class more integrative.
Mhm.
You can see you can see people thinking different after they teach class immediately. immediately. You see them change. It's like aha moment, like, oh, right. So we can all the process they change when they teach class, they change a lot. They change the view, the perspective, the view, the way the way they attach the knowledge. It's different, and you see that after they teach class. Dan, I want to say thank you. You were my first students here in the United States. Still, you're one an amazing student, and one an amazing friend. And
Yeah.
I want to say that out loud. I want to say thank you. I want to I want to thank you because you're the El Padrino. You're the godfather of this show. We call it Godfather, and that's means you're the first one, like El Padrino. We call it. You're the first guy in the show, and I really appreciate your effort. It wasn't easy transmitting today, but as we say always, we're gonna do it, and
We got it done.
we did it, and we did it. So once again, thank you so much, Dan. It's been an amazing time.
Thank
Uh,
you for having me. Yeah,
I
it was
really,
an honor.
the honor is mine. I really appreciate your answers and your time. And see you in class.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
See you
sir.
in the next time. Esto
Okay.
fue Sapiens para México y para el mundo. Y quedamos pendientes. See you soon then.
See ya.